Some people were worried about when they added Steffon Diggs because he's, a vocal veteran, kind of talked his way out of Minnesota and Buffalo, if you believe some of the stories online. Diggs so far this season, 25 catches, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns. And his new quarterback, Stroud, says Diggs critics are all wrong.
I think he got a bad rap, just by the media and like by people. But man, he's not been nothing but just amazing to this team and to his teammates. He's helped me out a ton, and as you can see, we're clicking more and more every game. So, I'm very happy for him, and I'm glad that he's finally having fun playing the game. And
yeah, I don't think the media was unfair. I think we saw multiple times instances with he and Josh Allen had drama. Josh Allen has come out and said publicly, I like it now. Nobody cares about their stats. That's not a media
No, but remember, that wasn't a shot at Diggs. Allen came out to clarify. That's not a shot at Diggs. Sure.
So I think it's easy. We're the scapegoat, and sometimes the media does create stuff. But Robert Saleh goes to the microphone 3 times and then goes, "You guys and your crazy controversy, dude. You're the guy setting the fires."
By the way, in the event the Jets lose in London, it's good that it's the island game because at 1 o'clock, right after that's done, Bills-Texans is a monster game, and Ravens-Bengals is a huge game. So people quickly forget about the Jets' loss should they go down because there's a lot. The 1 p.m. slate is stacked.
In the history, think about this. In the history of and I don't mind them because it is kind of cool to wake up and have a game. Because usually what I do, you probably do this, I get up and do a big workout because I'm going to be sitting on my butt watching football for like 10 hours.
Unhealthy.
So generally Sundays, I go on a hike. I can't do it. So instead, Saturday night, I got to be good.
Got to rein it in.
Rein it in Saturday
Only
night.
2 vodka tonics, right, instead of 5?
Maybe none. But I would say that it is really cool that you wake up and it's like, oh, I got football.
And good football. Good teams.
No, and think about all the London games we've had. So when the NFL started these international games, it was a lot of...
All right, they're kind of getting lost in the CJ Stroud, Steffon Diggs thing. So let's focus on that. Let's not talk about London football and stuff like that. Okay. I think we need to just put this to bed. I don't know. Maybe you Houston Texans fans knows like what caused CJ Stroud to say this in the middle of a media interaction. I don't know if they asked him again, but if they did, I don't even understand why they're asking this question. And if they didn't, then I don't know why CJ Stroud is bringing it up right now. So if you guys have that answer, please definitely let me know in the comments. But I'm just going to take it at face value, where I think both things can be true, right? I agree with what Colin is saying, where sometimes the media is a scapegoat, and sometimes the media obviously creates something, right? Obviously, they create something out of nothing, and sometimes, though, it's warranted, right? There was actual fundamental issues with Diggs in Minnesota and Buffalo, right? He was not being a good soldier. That's just the reality of what it is. He's had his moments where he was good and he was a great team player and did those things, and there was plenty of other moments where he wasn't, and that was problematic. But at the same time, he has not been like that for the Texans, and it feels like it. You know what this really reminds me of, and hopefully you'll be able to follow this. It's when Kevin Durant, right? He gave his famous MVP speech, and he was crying about his mom and said, obviously, famously, you're the real MVP. Really beautiful, nice moment. And then when he finally won his first ring, right? He's on the court and they're interviewing him and he's all excited and happy. And they tried to recreate that moment. They kept asking him, how does it feel to have your mom here? And he goes, yeah, good, great. And he goes, yeah, your mom, she was so strong with you and helped raise you. How do you feel about that? And they kept trying to get him to feel, and it's not how he felt in that moment. He's obviously loves his mom and is grateful, but that's not what the feeling in that moment was. They were trying to recapture that moment. And that's what it feels with this whole thing with Steffon Diggs and the Texans. They just want to keep making this a thing. And it's let it go. Yeah, it was a thing with Minnesota. Yeah, it became a thing in Buffalo. It's not a thing right now. Stop trying to make it a thing, right? Stop trying to make fetch work. And I find it kind of frustrating. If something happens and something boils over, then yeah, it's totally understandable to talk about it. And it's totally understandable to bring up the past and say, well, this is what he does and this or that. But that's not the case right now. And maybe it's happening because the Bills are playing the Texans, which is a fun matchup, right? That's why we love sports. We love seeing these things. We've gotten a lot of these recently. As you know, just last week we had Cliff Kingsbury returning to Arizona Cardinals, and before that you had Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford, right? Lions versus Rams. Like, so, we love these matchups. It's always fun. Both teams really want to win more than anything. The Bills want to prove they don't need Diggs, and Diggs wants to prove that he's on a better team now with the Texans. So it's fun. And so I get to a degree why some of this stuff is bubbling up, right? This is when football can kind of turn into WWE, right? Where it's like kind of wrestling matches and taking the mic and saying, you're not going to get me, I'm going to beat you. And like, no, I'm going to beat you. And I get it, but I think it to me at least it starts to get tiring, right? Like, we could sell this fight, this game with it just being like, yeah, Steffon Diggs is ready to take on the Buffalo Bills, let's go, rather than it being this whole thing about like airing out his whole history. But on one side, Steffon Diggs brought it on himself. That's why I think like both things can be true, right? Like, Diggs was obviously a problem at times, but I also think that Steffon Diggs was always going to be set up to have more success with the Texans. The way that the Minnesota Vikings team was constructed, as well as the Buffalo Bills, and considering who both of their quarterbacks were and who their coaches were, Steffon Diggs was always more likely to feel more at home with the Texans, with CJ Stroud, with his head coach now, D'Amico, and having it being similar backgrounds, closer in age, culturally similar, just a lot of other things that you would expect someone like Diggs to just feel better about. And he's also more mature now. I think he's probably more comfortable with his other wide receivers around him. I think it's just one of those things that he will feel more at home also just living in Houston, right? Just being around Houston rather than Buffalo, right? The middle of nowhere Buffalo and Minnesota. Like, Minnesota, if you've ever been there, I love Minnesota, but it's just a very specific place. It's also very cold, and so it's very cold. So again, just the way how things are going to be culturally in Houston, and the way how those teams are going to be, and the history of those teams, I just feel like Diggs would feel just better, more at home. And I don't blame him, honestly, right? Like, it would make total sense. I can't tell you that I would feel as home down in Miami as I would say in Houston, just to keep it consistent, right? I'd feel way more comfortable in Houston than I would Miami. It's just different things that are happening culturally. Different things are happening just in, and don't get too lost in the word culture. I'm at a loss for just, it's not too specific. It's just an energy, a vibe. I'm trying to not use words like an energy and vibe, because that feels like I'm, 17 years old. And so I just think that this was always going to be a better situation. Like I said, a place like Minnesota is just such a specific place. And then you go now to, Buffalo, that's such a specific place. We saw this with OBJ going to Cleveland, right? He was in New York. That's a place. That's a vibe. That's a culture. And then he goes to Cleveland, and it's like, what the heck is this now? And then he goes to LA and instantly finds a home, right? Like, I mean, he didn't stay there long, but he was easily more comfortable in his short stint in LA than he was anywhere else in his career. And quite frankly, probably should have stayed in LA. So, people assume that it's just easy for these players to find a home no matter where they're going. And it's just like, well, this is your job, money, this, that. And on one side, that's absolutely accurate, right? Like, it is your job. You are getting paid and all that. But it doesn't mean it's going to be the perfect situation. You could pay me $10 million to work in Alaska or Antarctica, and it's like, this is my job. I'm getting paid a ton of money, but like, I don't know how happy I'm going to be doing it, right? Like, I would probably be more happy working, making significantly less money, but living in Texas or, Florida or, anywhere, New York. And so it's just sometimes, you got to find a place that's going to make you more comfortable. And if you're more comfortable, you're going to be a better person. You're going to be a better teammate. You're going to be a better employee. And so that's what I think we will continue to see out of Steffon Diggs with the Houston Texans. So I think it's unfortunate that we have to keep talking about this again and again. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about, I guess, the continued story of Steffon Diggs and his bad rap in Buffalo and, you know, what CJ Stroud is saying? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.